their parents in another. That's how Congressman John Garamendi describes the detention facilities he toured over the weekend. Congressman Garamendi of California joins me now. Welcome, sir.
Good to be with you.
That footage inside that Harlem detention center, your thoughts?
Well, I've not seen that particular detention center, but when we were in McAllen, Texas and Brownsville, we saw the worst possible situation America could ever inflict upon refugees, people that are coming to America seeking asylum, young parents with their very young children, held in literally cages in which we wouldn't consider holding animals in a zoo. Cages that hold 50 to 60, maybe 70 young girls, same number of young boys in another cage, parents with their children in yet a third cage, and some adult men in a fourth cage, all in a big warehouse. It is not an American way. Before they even get there, they are literally in what you would find in any common jail in the United States. That is the intake center for a jail. We're talking about security, we're talking about concrete cells, steel doors, wired glass windows. In one of these cells was a young girl, probably 4 years of age, just barely able to see over the top of the concrete sill through the window. And tears were streaming down her face. No parents around. She was locked in that cell all by herself. Concrete floor, concrete bench. She was given a plastic Mylar blanket on which to cover herself. It is inhumane. It is wrong. I don't care what the president says. He either knows what's going on and doesn't care, or he doesn't know, in which case, either way, this is an abomination and clearly not American.
The president held a campaign rally in South Carolina yesterday, and he told the crowd that these detention facilities are better than they were under President Obama, and the children are being treated humanely. Is he not telling the truth?
This president has a very severe problem with the truth. He has alternate facts about virtually everything that exists in this world, and he certainly has an alternate view and not a factual view of what is actually going on. If you have a huge warehouse and you have 4 cages, literally cages that you would find no zoo in America could maintain that kind of a cage for some sort of an animal, but yet we are putting 50, 70 young girls. We're talking about girls that are not even teenagers, locked in these cages. They're given a small a blanket on which to sleep, and a Mylar plastic blanket to cover themselves. There's something terribly wrong about this entire system. These people were seeking asylum. These are families and some unaccompanied adults that were seeking asylum. But the federal government, Trump's policy is to choke off the legal way of entering the United States. That's through the port of entry, thereby giving these individuals, these families, no option to come to America except illegally crossing the border. That's a misdemeanor, but yet they're treated as though they are felons. We're talking about a 4-year-old girl as a felon. Give me a break.
I know that the Trump administration says it has a plan to reunite these families, but you're right. It's going to take months to reunite most of these families. Well, we haven't seen the plan. You're right. I don't know exactly what the plan is, but I do know that some families have been reunited and that the parents are now being allowed out into the country. They have to wear ankle bracelets, right, to track their whereabouts.
We investigated that, and about 99.9% of those people that have the ankle bracelets are given a specific date in which they have to appear before the immigration court. 99.9% show up for their hearing. You don't need to incarcerate these young families or separate the families from the boys and girls and the mothers and fathers. You can put the ankle bracelets on, keep them together, they show up. Now, a large percentage of them do not qualify for asylum, and they are deported back to where they came from, about 80%. So there's a process that is humane and has worked, but this administration wanted to use the most severe, inhumane system possible to try to shut down the legal asylum seekers.
Congressman, before you go, I do want to ask you about the travel ban that was just upheld by the United States Supreme Court. The president is declaring victory. He says this will make our country safer. Do you agree?
No. There is a process in place before this administration to check on the safety, the background of anybody seeking a visa from those countries. What has just occurred is a message to countries around the world that America does not welcome certain people, in this case mostly Muslims from various countries around the world. We need to be certain that those visas and those people that come here are not terrorists, and there is a process in those countries to do that.
But the countries include North Korea, and it includes Venezuela, as well as Muslim majority countries. So
what I'm saying is you don't need a travel ban. What you need is a program in place to be assured that people seeking a visa to visit the United States are not troublesome. There is a process that's been in place for years to do that, and we now have new ways to identify people. We've got facial recognition, we've got metrics, and we have a much better system. Where there is a question, don't let them come.
In light of what's happening at the border with Mexico, in light of this travel ban being put into place, what does America look like to you?
Well, from the inside out, it looks like a very unfriendly country that doesn't care much about human rights and human dignity. From the outside in, I have seen many ambassadors from around the world that are going, what is going on with America? This is not the America that talks about human rights, about democracy, about dignity. This is a different America. And so from outside looking at America, there is enormous concern about the country that once was the leader in human rights issues actually going backwards and becoming a leader in what is the opposite of dignity and human rights and humanity and moral certainty. This is a very different thing, both from inside out and outside in.
Congressman John Garamendi from California, thank you so much. The woman who called police over an 8-year-old girl selling bottled water tells